Hello, I'm Amanda Post, and this year's municipal primary election is May 21st. There are many candidates vying for judicial, county, city, and township positions who will appear on the November 5th general election ballots. With the help of community access media, voters will have the opportunity to hear more about the candidates through personal interviews. In this interview, you will hear from Millcreek Township Supervisor John Groh, who is up for re-election. John has no opponents in the Democratic primary, but he will have an opponent on the Republican ticket this fall. This interview is for informational purposes and should not be interpreted as a personal endorsement or an endorsement of my employer, Lilly Broadcasting. So shall we get started, John?
Yes.
All right.
Let's go.
So a few things came to mind first when I thought about talking with you about your reelection.
Yes.
And the first is something that many people talk about, and that would be vacant businesses, specifically the Kmart Plaza at 26th and Peninsula. What are your thoughts about that moving forward? What would you like to see happen there?
Well, of course, keep in mind that is privately held property. The township, we have a zoning ordinance, as we know. It's Zone C2, which allows a multitude of different uses there. First of all, that building could potentially see a date with a wrecking ball. I mean, that's one of the options. Start over again. I've heard some developers say maybe a couple of hotels might be a good place, since that is the gateway to Presque Isle. That's just one of the thoughts. That's one of the uses that's allowed under the zoning ordinance. Retail, building new retail there, or refurbishing that storefront there, the whole place there, to make stores again there. But as we know, with the lack of need for brick and mortars anymore, with the Amazon effect, that we may see the end of brick and mortars, at least as many as we have seen.
Any consideration for zoning changes?
Well, that's always a possibility, and of course we can have the applicant, the owner of the property, apply to the township for a rezoning, and we would take everything into consideration and determine if that would be allowed.
What would you like to see happen?
Well, I'd like to see something going in there, something that's a really good way to for people that are coming in off of Sterretania Road. You know, we got travelers coming down, visitors down to State Park, and we want to have a good entrance. That is the entrance to our our jewel down there, the Presque Isle State Park. So at the end of Peninsula Drive, Sterretania Road, that conglomeration right there, a really nice building, a nice complex of hotels, maybe a couple of little restaurants, but just reusing what's there. But I think that we're going to have some limited potential on that for reusing it. That's just my view on it.
Right,
so,
going forward.
Yes.
The other thing that gets a lot of attention, especially lately, and not just in Millcreek, it really is a widespread issue, and that's with our fire departments.
Yes.
The volunteer, the basis of the volunteers is falling off. It's a big concern.
Yes.
Where do you stand on that? There's a lot of talk about possibly paying volunteers as opposed to using or paying fire department members as opposed to being volunteers.
This is something that has always been near and dear to my heart as far as the firefighters. My late father was a volunteer firefighter with the Lakeshore Fire Department, which is part of Millcreek, and he served up until he passed away. He was on a board of directors his past final years. But anyway, I know what it's like for volunteers, although we do see the decline that happening not just here in Erie, but across the state and across the nation. We have to do something to help give more incentives. Of course, the township has passed ordinances and resolutions to allow for tax relief, limited tax relief for them. But the fact is, we're going to have to take some more bold steps. And of course, we've already done that in the township. We formed a Fire and Emergency Services Commission to look at possible solutions to our issues. But I think the first thing that we need to do is get all 5 fire departments and the Millcreek Paramedic Service to work together as one entity. We have 5 different entities working within the township, and that creates its own set of challenges there. I'm not saying these are bad, but it's just get everybody together under one roof. That would be ideal, whether that be a volunteer service or under the control of the township itself.
Have you, or perhaps the supervisors as a whole, studied other communities that have the same issues and are looking at what they're doing?
Right, yes, I have been doing that. Of course, like I said, there was one of the issues that when I first was a candidate for supervisor 6 years ago, there was something that I brought up, that it was kind of the elephant in the room. Who wants to talk about this? It is a problem, and still we're not moving fast enough in my mind. I think it really, we need to show more leadership. I have tried to do that, but at the risk of sounding like I'm in the minority. I am. I want to move ahead on this thing here. I see that we have serious problems out there with our emergency services.
At this point, without making major budget changes to Millcreek,
Yeah.
can you afford to pay for your firefighters?
Not right now. We're going to have to slowly walk into this, put the toe in the water and just kind of go in a little bit at a time. To go to a full-fledged fire department, there's no way. It would just break everything for years, and we just couldn't do it. There are ideas in regards to regionalization of fire departments. That may be something. I know a county executive has formed a task force to work at it from a county level. The state, they have the SR6 report, which really opens the eyes to everybody. It talks about the serious matters that we all face, all municipalities face. So.
Let's talk about the school district.
Yes.
McDowell School District.
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering about security issues. That
Yes.
also is talked about a lot.
Yes.
Parents are very concerned about their
Yeah.
students in and out, in and around the school buildings.
Yes.
Should you have security officers? Should they be armed? Should they not?
Okay.
Where do you fall on the
Okay.
security of our students?
Well, it's sad. Let me just say, I'm going to sounding like an old timer, but I graduated in 1975, so do the math, okay? But we didn't have this sort of issue going on then. Of course, that's, the whole country was that way. But now we live in different times, and we have to have more security. Of course, that is a school district matter, but
Right.
we do work with the school district. We have a resource officer there now. The school district pays Millcreek Township Police Department for the use of that officer. It's expensive for the school district to do it. I know they had talked about creating their own police force, and I think the numbers may have just not worked for them. But the school security is needed. Fortunately for us, we are only about 10 blocks away with the Township Police Department versus McDowell High School, or even the intermediate school. So there are methods, and of course, it's really sad commentary that we have to have drills, active shooter drills and so on. And of course, I saw something on the national news about a quick lot campaign being taught in schools. How to kids be first responders. For their fellow students. I mean, that's a sad commentary.
It
So,
is.
Yes, it's disturbing.
Do you feel that our children should be trained for emergency responses and all of that? I mean, that is happening across the nation.
Right. I think
now.
we all should be. I know I am. I think that we all should know those basic first aid things there, and that is a basic first aid item now. So.
Do you foresee the township having further collaboration with the school district, or do you think that it's going to be kept minimally, or would you like to be a bit more involved in some of the
Well,
decisions?
I think there are things that we get involved in, or things that we stay out of. Of course, the educational part. If I could just change just a little bit here, we have student ambassadors from McDowell High School serve on our board of supervisors. That's a program that I started when I first became a supervisor. In other words, we take a senior from McDowell High School, and they become part of our board. And they sit up there. If you see us up on the dais, there's usually a young-looking person, and we'll get their comments what's going on at McDowell High School, and it's a very good program. But I do have concerns, in regards to the safety of McDowell High School. I think everybody does.
Change always happens in small incremental
Yes.
steps too. What do you foresee in the near future that you would like for the school district? Any changes, any additions? What would you like to see as they continue to grow the next 5 years?
We
or
have
so?
to work together, and of course they are the major taxing body in Millcreek Township, and they're always at the limit. And when we have residents come in, much of the complaints are about their taxes, and our taxes are very low, compared to what the school district, they're assessed at. So working together, there are things that we could possibly do more together, plowing, things like that. There, shared services like that, shared purchasing, and so on. So, yeah, I think there's open doors for that. So.
Let's leave the school district.
Okay.
Let's head now to the police force.
Yes.
Recently, there have been some issues with diversity.
Yes.
With the force.
Okay.
It's been accused in terms of being perhaps a good old boys establishment.
Okay.
Not enough women, not enough diversity.
Yes.
Where do you stand on all of that?
Okay. Well, of course, it may or may not be known. I think in reports that it may have been put out there that we are part of a consortium of hiring through Mercyhurst University, the police academy out Northeast, and so we hire off of that list, and that list also includes other municipalities. I think there's 17 total from up in this area, this region, and we just take them off of that list. They are ranked by Mercyhurst University as who is that, who is the most qualified based on their scores and so on, and aptitudes. So yes, do we want to fill minority applicants? Oh yes. Since I've been there, we have hired 2 women police officers. We had 2 prior, we've hired 2 more. So we're going to be losing some officers here coming up through retirements in the next year.
But that doesn't happen often. There's not a lot of turnover.
There's not a lot of turnover. So we have guys retiring. So who knows what the next group of possible candidates might be? What quota they might be part of.
What would you like to see going forward as the police department grows and evolves?
Well, I'd like to see us, first of all, I don't know if we can afford anymore, I can say that, but to replace existing officers, our current ones. I think we can do that, but I'd like to see more minorities come in there. I wish we had more applicants coming into the police academy and being ranked in there for that there. I'm not sure if there's that many of them really applying. That becomes a challenge for all of us to do with, so, yeah.
Another big issue, and Senator Dan Laughlin has been very involved in this, is the stormwater drains,
yes.
the pipes,
the
flooding that happens when major water runs through. The issue is that the piping is too small in some areas, from my understanding.
Yeah.
So where is Millcreek on that?
Well,
that's not a quick fix.
Yeah, that's not a quick fix. Keep in mind we've had many years of uncontrolled development without stormwater management. So there are matters that are being taken care of. I know this one issue that the senator is talking about, there is some disagreement with him on that. We actually have a presentation coming up in a few weeks in regards to what our view is on the matter. And this is something, keep in mind, look at the storms that we have had. Okay, we've had record storms. Look at the snow, we look at the rain, the Father's Day floods, other ones that we've had. The storm sewer system is designed for your normal rain, not for a flood of that level. Keep in mind we had tornadoes. Not we didn't get them, but down in Warren County. Our buildings are designed for such a wind force, but not to a tornado force. The same thing applies in flooding too.
And some residents, though, they will say, well, this happens all the time in our area. And I know that there are some hot spots that probably
there are
need some immediate attention.
And those areas have been addressed. I can tell you that. The one in particular has been addressed. The pipes have been cleaned out, and so they offer good drainage. We didn't have much of a problem over there on Sunday with the flooding we had. So, yeah.
I don't know the current rules on this. What are Millcreek Supervisor term limits? Are there term limits?
Yeah, under second-class township code, there's a 6-year term limit. And so I'm in my 6th year right now. Where does time go?
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? Do you feel that there should be fresh turnover on a regular basis, or because since I've been in this community, the Millcreek Supervisor Board has been, very very little turnover.
Right.
And people hold that seat for a long, long time. Right. What's your thought on that for yourself personally?
Let's go back here to 4 years ago when I was part of the group that set up an ordinance to have a study commission to possibly go to home rule government. And if we were to go to home rule government, a new charter would be established and term limits could be put in place. How long the council it would be, and would they hire a manager? Would there be a mayor? With home rule, you can custom fit your government to fit your needs. And something such as term limits would be included in that, or could be, and probably would be included in that.
So this is your 6th year.
This is my 6th year.
How much longer would you like to go forward on the Millcreek Supervisor Board?
One more term here.
One more.
And then still keep on working doing something else. So.
How important do you feel that, I know the supervisor position is not a volunteer position, but how important do you feel that being involved in your community and volunteering and being a member of boards, how important is that?
Well, for me it is very much. I'm a people person, and I don't want to use that term cheaply or anything like that. I think that I'm out there with people. I'm working for charities. I'm on the board of directors at NAMI of Erie County, an organization very near and dear to my heart. Of course, I have these comedy fundraisers too, and we've raised a lot of money for the different charities, for the homeless shelters. Whenever there's a call, somebody asks me to do something, I'll be up there to step up to the plate for them. Celebrity bartending, being in events, whatever it might be. I like to get out there and talk with the people, listen to them, hear what they have to say. So, yeah.
Every time I interview somebody, at the end I always say, what have I missed?
Yes.
What do you want folks to know about you, and why should they vote for you?
Okay, well, I'm the one that has the true municipal administration experience. I'm a municipal administrator with the township. I'm an instructor of government courses to local government officials on that same field. I've been doing this for almost 20 years as far as an instructor. I have 30 years experience working with government, whether as a third-party agent or as an employee or as an elected official. So I have pretty well-rounded experience on that. And I've been dealing with the issues that people deal with on a daily basis, and I know how to handle them. So, yeah.
So you're going to breeze through the May primary,
Yes.
but it's for the November election that you will have an opponent, and you're hoping for everyone's vote for
That is correct there, yes.
All right, John Groh, thank you. Always a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate that so much there. Okay.
Hi there, I'm Steve Urbanek, and I want to thank you for joining us. I'm here with Michael Lindner, a candidate to become a Millcreek School Board Director. Mike, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Thank you.
So over the next few minutes, we're going to take some time chatting with Mike about his motivation to potentially join the Millcreek School Board. So let's start right there, Mike. What is your motivation to become a Millcreek Township School Board Director?
Thank you, Stephen. My motivation for being a Millcreek Township School Board Director is I moved to Millcreek 18 years ago. I started my family here in Millcreek, and when I chose to live in Millcreek Township, I chose to live here because we had a great community and a good school district. Unfortunately, our school district's at a crossroads right now. The school district is faced with budget challenges on an annual basis. We have an aging facilities that need to be addressed, and I want to make sure that not only now the school district is successful, but I want to help position the school district to be successful in the future. You know, my added incentive here is I have 2 young children. I have a daughter who's at Chestnut Hill, and I have a son who's going to be attending Chestnut Hill shortly. So for me, there's a lot of motivation to get involved and to make sure that the school district is as strong as it was when I first moved here.
Sure. Now, you mentioned some of the challenges there, and obviously joining the school board, that can be a challenging role. So how has your background prepared you to be a potentially Millcreek Township School Board Director?
So that's a great question. I've been the Director for Housing and Food Services at Penn State Behrend. For the past 19 years, I've been focused on building teams. I've been in charge of facility management. I've worked on fiscal plans, and one of my great strengths is I've had the opportunity to do renovations, constructions, manage large teams. So this is a good fit. Right now, the school board has a lot of good people for education. They have a lot of good business people, but they truly lack facility management, and we're going to be entering a phase where they need people who understand facilities.
Sure. So to that point, what is your vision, so to speak, for education in Millcreek Township?
Well, my vision for education right now is, I want to make sure that this school district is successful both today and tomorrow. And we do that by making smart investments. We make those investments in the curriculum, we make those investments in the staff, and we definitely make those investments into the facilities that our students are going to use. This is, paramount for our community. The school district is one of the most important parts of the community, and I want to see it succeed.
Now, you mentioned how you have children, one child in the district right now. You'll have another one here on the way. And you did touch on some of the good things within the Millcreek School District right now. So can you touch on some of those strengths? And if you were to join the school board, how do you think the district can build off of those strengths?
Well, one of the things I think the district has done extremely well, and I'm very proud of, I think the district has done an outstanding job of educating our students. It is probably the greatest strength that we have as a district. The teachers, the administration, the board, they've done a great job positioning ourselves to be in a good place for our students. But I'm concerned that we are not going to be there in the future if we don't start to take care of some of these other issues. And I want to make sure that we're going to be there for both our students today and for our students tomorrow. And that's the big challenge right now, is how do we get ourselves in a good place for tomorrow?
Sure. And Mike, now what would you say is the most important responsibility of the Millcreek Township School Board?
So the most important responsibility, it's really simple. It's put our children first. That is why they're there. That is why I'm going to be there. So every decision that I make, I'm going to use my core values of children first, and I'm going to make all decisions based off of that.
Sure. And how will you plan to contribute to a successful school board meeting?
Well, one of the things in my 19 years as a college administrator is I've had a lot of experience working on teams, building teams, and I'm going to bring to the table the ability to pull together a team of diverse individuals and create a positive civil environment. I don't expect us all to get along every night. We're going to have different viewpoints, we're going to have different things we're advocating, but at the end of the day, we need to be civil and professional and be good role models for our students that are in attendance and for our community while we're advocating for our position. And that's one of the big things I think is challenging the board right now. We don't have that civility, and we don't have that role model that I would like to see my daughter sit in those meetings and walk out and go, wow, I'm proud of the people up there.
Sure, sure. Now you kind of touched on the various diverse viewpoints, so forth, and we know with any school district, with the school board, everyone from administrators, parents, teachers, taxpayers, and obviously the school board, they'll have different opinions as to how a school board should operate. So how do you balance that need to be open-minded when listening to those opinions, coupled with the need to really do what's best for the school district?
Well, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected to the school board, as an elected official, my job is to listen. First and foremost, I'm going to listen to the constituents, I'm going to listen to the faculty, I'm going to listen to the professionals, and then I'm going to make a decision. And that decision may not be what I want it to be, but I'm going to make the best decision every time in the interest of our students and our children and our community. I mean, that is why I'm there. It's to make the good decision for the school district.
Now, earlier you touched on some of the strengths of the Millcreek School District. What would you say are some of the challenges that are facing the school district right now?
So there's some really big challenges right now. The first is they're facing annual budget challenges, and they really need to come up with a plan on how to control that, so that they find themselves not having to cut programming. And they closed a couple schools a few years back, and nobody wants to see them being in that position. They have to put themselves on sound fiscal discipline so that they're in a good place moving forward. The other challenge they have is they have aging facilities. A lot of the schools are older, and they haven't necessarily been addressed over time, and it's come time that other people have sacrificed to build these schools, and it's time that we might have to put some serious investment into upkeep them. The last thing that's really challenging, and that is the big unknown conversation, is the vocational school. The vocational school, Millcreek Township has a commitment to that program, and we need to understand what that commitment is and how we're going to move forward, because our students are going to move forward in two paths. They're either going to move forward where they're going to look to go on to college, or they're going to look to go on to trade school, and both the vocational school and the senior high school are both very valuable assets.
Sure, sure. And how would you say a school board balances the need to provide a quality education with the need to respond to the local taxpayer burden?
That's probably one of the biggest challenges they have. Mm-hmm. What I would like to see us do is I'd like to see us make the most effective, efficient uses of the funds available, so that we're making smart investments, we're not being wasteful with taxpayers' dollars. But I think the other part of that is, if we can invest properly and we use the money in an effective manner, we're going to have a sound financial outlook for the school. It's in everyone's best interest for the school to succeed. If we have a strong school system, the residents are going to see higher returns on their home values. We're going to see more people moving into the community, which is going to help us with our tax base and lessen that burden. If we don't invest in our schools and we don't see the value of the school district, we're going to find ourselves in a very challenging position where people are questioning whether they want to come to Millcreek, like I chose to move to Millcreek 18 years ago, and I make that decision today again. So that's the big challenge. How do we balance what they need versus what is the value to our residents? And I think all of our residents can agree that having a good school district builds a great community.
Sure, sure. And do you have any specific suggestions for improvement?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot as I've been attending some of the board meetings and interacting with some of the various constituents as I've been going around town and talking to people. The biggest thing that I think is challenging is I would like to see the school district or the board put together a 5-year curriculum plan for where they want to see education in Millcreek going and where they see us moving towards, so that the community understands what exactly is happening in the schools. I also think they need to start investing or planning in a 10-year facility management plan. And if they put both those plans together, it's the board's responsibility and the district's responsibility to get out there and share it with the public. Talk to the public about what it is. Have townhouses. Host them annually, whether it's once a year or twice a year, but really engage the community of where the school is strong and where the school is struggling, so that we're all a part of it and we're not just surprised some days when we see headlines in the paper.
Sure. And that leads perfectly into the next question. You touch on that relationship with the community. So let me ask you, what kind of relationship should the school board have with the Millcreek community? And, how can the school board make itself accessible to the community?
So that's probably one of the greatest areas I think the school board and the school district can improve. For me personally, it's been a frustration. When I started getting involved with the school board and started going to the meetings and trying to get information, it is the single most challenging thing. I have not found that the school board is open or very transparent. And when they are transparent with information, it's extremely difficult to locate that information. So what I'd like to see the school board do is I'd like to see us become more open to the general public. I'd like to see us give the public an opportunity not only just to speak in a forum, but to actually ask questions and interact. We have to conduct business as a school board. But we also have to make time where we engage our constituents and give them an opportunity both to ask us questions and us give them answers as to why. And I think that's one of the big things that's missing right now is that back and forth conversation and the availability of information that's easily findable.
Sure. Now, Mike, one of the themes I think, as we sit here and chat, is very much, this is for you. You're motivated by putting children first. It's about the students. It's about your own children. It's about all children. So, to that point, I just want to ask, given all the issues that can arise, how does the school board stay focused on student achievement and stay focused on that goal of putting children first?
So, there's a lot of things that happen on a school board, and there's a lot of things that can be distracting, and there's a lot of things that we are going to come up that the school board has to deal with. But at the end of the day, it's really simple for me. It's about children. We put children first. We judge how well we are doing by how successful our children are in our school district. So while there are a lot of things happening, it's not really hard in my mind how to make decisions. We have to weigh all of those versus what's in the best interest of our students and our community.
Sure, great. All right, well, Mike, I want to thank you for joining me and also wish you the best of luck in this upcoming election. Thank you.
Steve. So I hope I can count on everyone's support on May 21st. And when you go out to the polls, please vote for J. Michael Lindner. If you'd like more information, please check out my Facebook page at facebook.com/J. Michael Lindner for school board. Thank you.